Underdog Podcast. It's your host T. Lee and my co-host Jack Cowden will be live today as usual.
Was pulling up, they acting like they couldn't see me. Now she wanna clean me up like a squeegee. I told her that's on me, baby, like yellow BZ. With the peanut butter tear like a Reese.
He's gonna persevere through all the obstacles. Get it done. That's an underdog.
They don't forget the underdog when they see me. I hit them with the John Cena, they can't see me.
You may overlook this person, but the underdog is the one who's gonna put in the work.
It's over, you know? Because you have to lose to win. Whether you think losing is a big event.
Out of mind. All I'm saying, just be careful who you idolize. I'm kicking this scripture just before the fame. Ain't no cap in my words, I go against the grain.
So I always believe that, like, I took so many risks to make this thing happen. You know what I mean?
I'm always working, bro. Like I said, I'm energy driven. Underdog can put you on your ass. The underdog can put you on game. The underdog can show you something that you didn't know.
Can't go down. All you can do is go up. So are you gonna stay where you at, or you gonna move up?
Feel the bangs. Feel the bangs.
He said he's nervous. This is his first time doing it.
Cut her ass off if she could I can reread.
What's going on, good people? Welcome to the Underdogs Podcast. We are back with another episode, season 4, episode 15. Never too late. We got a very special guest coming on today. SOHAIL, Atlanta-based artist, Art by SOHAIL on Instagram. We're gonna bring him in, give him his flowers, how we usually do, you know, and get his story told. Roll the red carpet out for him. Going to bring him in right here. Art, SOHAIL, what's going on?
How you doing, bro? Appreciate you having me on.
Most definitely, man. It's an honor to have you on the platform. You know, how you feeling today?
Feeling great, man. It's a lovely day out. Get to join you on this cool podcast, man. I didn't really know much about it, admittedly, before y'all, and now that I checked it out, I like the story, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. You know, it was definitely an honor when I crossed paths with you at the Future Art Gallery. You know, it's just to be in the environment with, you know, all these talented, you know, creative people. You know, I do music, but art, you know, it's just always been appealing to me because it's almost like music, you know, is intersecting with each other because it's like music without words, you know.
100%, man. That's why like one feeds the other, right?
Right. And it's more of it's really no right or wrong way to do it. It's just all feeling and expression, you know.
Yeah, creativity, man.
Yeah, definitely. So
absolutely.
First and foremost, you know, as we push the importance of knowing thyself in 30 seconds, who is SOHAIL as a person outside of his artistry?
I'm a father, man. That's number one to me, man. I got my kids 50% of the time. They're my biggest inspiration, biggest motivation, family as well. But I'm also a full-time working artist, so I got a corporate gig, and my challenge is separating my corporate self from my passion, which is art. But one makes money, and the other, it's all right.
Right.
You know.
That's what's up, man. Also, just to highlight too as well, you know, hearing a little bit of your story, like being that you really you feel like you started late, you know, in the art, but that's why I titled it Never Too Late, because this is a perfect example of like whatever you feel, you know, or dream of doing, like don't limitate yourself based off load. I feel like, you know, I'm too, you know, of age to do this or learn this and that. Like the mind is a constant, you know, process of learning. You're going to keep learning and learning, you know.
Always, man. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I found that inspirational, man, because that's, you know, limitations, like it's all a mind thing, is mental, you know. So if you tell yourself like I'm incapable of doing this and that, then you know you're speaking into existence, you know, rather than just tackling the objective and, you know, taking, you know, step by step.
Exactly. And I like how you said of age rather than old. I appreciate that.
Right. Yeah, because it's like even when, you know, when your birthday comes by, it's like you're reaching a new age. It's like I'm not this old, like I'm in an age I've never been before. So, you know, you should keep leveling more that you age, hopefully. You know?
That's right, man. You kind of look at it as a new stage rather than just closer to death, right, or closer to the end. So yeah, that's 100% right, man. I started very late, man. But you know, everything turned out because when I was younger,
right,
my I don't know if you heard about this part. When I was younger, though, my parents being immigrants,
Yeah.
and my teachers telling them to put me in art school. My parents were like, "No, he's got to be a doctor or a lawyer. We came to this country to get him to, get out of the situation we were in, and all that." So they didn't really foster it. So I ended up getting a corporate gig, but I found my love for art later. And I'm always big on always constantly evolving and changing and becoming the better version of me. And that's where I am. And it's changed me, man. But I have, people say you've changed. I'm like, good. So that's what I want. I want to become the best version of me.
Yeah, we definitely gonna highlight that too, because I was reading a couple of your articles and I was like, yeah, this definitely is gonna be another exclusive. As we're halfway through 2023, what are some lessons you learned in 2022 that helped you prepare for 23?
Man, I wish I could put them in action better, honestly, but it's a process. I think what I've learned, not only 2022, but probably those past few years before that, but really hit hard in 2022. Man, I'm starting to lose people at a younger age, man. Like I'm seeing people go and just life like gone like that, and a lot of people just they work and they think, oh, I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna be able to do all this stuff. Don't wait, bro. Don't wait. Life's too short, man. And so I'm really trying to, not as if I haven't. I've been living my life to the fullest as I can anyway. But I think now I got more of an emphasis on what's my exit strategy to both be happy, number one, financially able to support it, and then number two, eventually being able to get out of corporate and just focus on art, because I'm not producing enough art because I just don't have the bandwidth. You know what I mean? Because I'm working a full-time demanding gig. So yeah, life short is the biggest lesson, man. But that's been a life lesson.
Yeah, I feel that, man, because in the sense of, when you become a new age or of age, you start to realize like a lot of early on, like in the system of, it wasn't pushed to really be an entrepreneur as much as how these days are now, like
100%.
I was born in the 90s, so coming up, like entrepreneur wasn't really like a big thing being pushed like that, and then when you got to elders or you just see people working hard and doing this and that, so it wasn't much of an influence of, hey, I want to do music, I want to do, like, nobody's really paying attention because they didn't see that as a way of, working for them being tangible,
100%, man. It used to be the mindset used to be get a job, ride that out until you retire type thing. You know what I mean? And then it's changed over these past few generations, but it still now is the age of you can go and get it on your own.
Yeah. Then it's almost like, who's to say these jobs won't, it's just like you're just another person and they could replace.
100%, man. That's all you are to them, a number.
Yeah.
It's just part of the game.
So, and with that, being said, as far as, from 2022 to 2023, like, how has 23 been treating you thus far, though?
Good, man. It's been good, man. From my life perspective, everything's great, man. Like I have zero complaints there. Kids are growing, they're healthy, they're moving up. My parents are getting older, all that's good. From an artistic perspective, I'm trying to find a balance between I'm getting caught up in doing a lot of commissions lately, man. Like that's what I got behind me, the pieces I'm working on. Like I've got commissioned to do a Prince piece, which is cool. I like Prince.
Yeah.
But I want to do something more with, my own thing, my own personal collection, because that's really what is going to separate me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, what I'm starting to do is I'm working on a commission piece. At the same time, I'm working on my own personal piece. So like that self-portrait is my own personal piece, and I'm going to get real funky with it and just let it go, just let it flow. Where the commission piece is a little more structured, man. So I'm trying to learn the balance of keeping a client happy, but not giving up creative integrity.
So like when working on your own piece, like it's like when you're working on a non-commission, art piece. So it's really like giving it your identity. Like when a person looks at it, they're like, yeah, that's SOHAIL right there. Like
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong. The guy that commissioned me to do this,
right?
He's like, do your thing, but at the same time, I'm still trying to find it, man. There's do your thing, but then there's because I can get wild with the shit, you know, and I
Right.
know how I am. I might get real wild with it. It might be a little too much for what he
Yeah.
commissioned me for, and I don't know if I'm there yet to push my agenda on it just yet. Maybe I'm working towards it, man. I am taking creative control here. I am doing it the way I want to do it. But he gave me an idea. He gave me a concept. I'm gonna stay in that box for now.
Right. Just want to, you know, when it's time to take the seatbelt off, you know, and to just take control from there.
Bro,
Yeah.
I'm close, man. My girl has to pull me back in line sometimes because I take that bitch off and I just go. You know, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm doing over here, man. Like I'm
Yeah.
just, you know, I'm painting and then something, you know, you're creative, bro. You do music.
Right.
You know how after when you're going and all of a sudden you get in that zone
Yeah.
and you feel like when you're in that zone, like everything you're doing is just elevated, it's just better.
Yeah.
That's like after I paint for a few hours, I start getting in that zone. I got the music in my head and I'm thinking on a different level. I just start seeing things different and I start incorporating it. You know what I mean? And if it don't work out, it don't work out. You know, so yeah, that's a good place to be.
Nah, most definitely. So as a native of Georgia, what was it like for you from your perspective growing up in Douglasville, you know,
Fucking
Atlanta
horrible,
surrounding
man.
area?
It was fucking horrible, man. To be
Yeah.
honest with you. Yeah, okay. I say that, but I mean, there's always a positive that comes from everything,
Yeah,
right?
red and
But
blue pill.
yeah, exactly. Red or blue pill, and I took the one I took, but to get out of the matrix. But no, man, like we don't control where we you know where we're born and raised. I was born in Chicago. I was raised in, again, my parents being immigrants. They lived in Chicago when they first came to this country, and then they moved to Douglasville, Georgia.
Right.
Horrible move for anybody that's not white at that time. Because my mom saw KKK rallies, and I grew up in that environment of
I can believe that, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the only brown kid around for a while, man. It was
Yeah.
crazy, and I made some good friends, you know, and they ended up, man. When kids are kids, man, they don't see they don't the racism and the
Yeah.
difference is
Oh,
kind of
that's
taught to
like,
them. It's
yeah,
not there.
that's indoctrinated to them, you know.
Exactly,
Yeah.
man. So like, you know, I met some people at their core that were cool. As we grew up, I learned certain things about them and their certain views. And you know, while I disliked it, I also kind of blamed it on their surroundings because all they heard was this, and it was just pumped into their head like if they're sitting there watching Fox News all day or something. You know what I mean? It's just pumped in their head.
Yeah.
So I got out there as soon as I could, man. But I think it did teach me how to accept people at their faults and try to like have conversations with them coming from a more an angle where I can understand that they just don't know.
Right. There's
You know
just
what I
some
mean?
people not gonna get it.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
some people aren't gonna get it, you know. But
Yeah.
if you can talk to somebody one on one, bro, like it's like, you know, with no cameras around, no social media around, no other people around, like people will start to, if they're open minded enough, they'll start to understand your viewpoint and be like, damn, I never really thought about it like that, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
Nah,
so it served its purpose.
that's definitely big, you know, to have a real, you know, so-called adult conversation is to be like, okay, we got our differences, but hey, you might not see it like this, but look at it this way, another way of looking at
Exactly.
it. Then that takes
Exactly.
their theory and makes it, you know, try to use that theory and come up with a different scenario, maybe, you know.
Exactly, man. And that affects one person, and then go talk to other people, it spreads,
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So speaking of, you know, coming up in the area that lacked diversity at the time, like, you know, where you were constantly, you know, searching to find yourself, you know, because you
Yes.
knew you were different amongst your peers, like, what was that journey for like what was that journey like for you early on at that time as well? You know, like,
It was rough, bro, because I feel like this sounds crazy. I feel like no, it doesn't sound crazy. I'm the most me I've ever been at this point in my life, right? But I
that's
mean,
good.
anybody can kind of say that, but like growing up, you know, when you're a kid, man, sometimes you're just trying to fit in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether you should or whether you shouldn't. But point is, at some points I was just trying to fit in, man. I was doing things to try to be accepted probably when I was in middle school, going into high school, all that.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie, man, it was rough, and I got caught up in a life that was going down a path of either dead or in jail, bro. Like it was,
Yeah.
it was that was really what was happening to the people I was around because I was just so trying to just I don't know mentally escape that life or whatever. So yeah, it was challenging, but then when you get through it on the other side, it's growth, and you start to realize it is what it is, and you start to blossom into who you really are, who you want to be, and stop trying to follow or be like anybody else as much as you can. I mean, we're all
Yeah.
going to be a little there's no true free thought anymore, bro. Like, we're we come out of the womb programmed. This is
Yeah.
right, this is wrong, even through
Right.
subconscious, you know what I mean? So there's always going to be that, but I think I'm the most free thinking I'm capable to be right now.
Nah, I definitely feel that when you say like as a kid, like it's good that you did go through those things at an early on, at an early stage, to make you who you are today, of finding yourself. Like some
Yeah.
people wait, they don't never go through those things and still constantly be searching for that at a later time,
Yeah.
and
Their
like
whole
I
life.
said, yeah, and it's like that's one of the main things though, is like people figuring themselves out, like finding out who you really are. Like that's the biggest thing, because if not, you're gonna end up lost in the hole, like basically, getting further away from yourself.
Exactly. And
And that
just
leads to unhappiness too on the way, because when people don't know
nailed
this,
it.
that's turmoil. Like that's the worst
100%,
thing.
man.
It's the worst feeling too, because you're wondering, like, in the midst of all that, you like, like in the back of your mind, you're headed somewhere, but you don't know where you're going really.
Because you're following everybody else, man. And like exactly like you said, bro. Once you hit that point of all right, this is what I'm into. This is what makes me happy.
Right,
Fuck whatever else anybody else is into. No offense against anybody, but this is what
right.
makes my heart happy, and I'm gonna pursue that, and that's what I'm gonna be about. Well, then, like, what better feeling, man?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man.
So, for those who haven't visited Atlanta or the surrounding areas, like, what are some of your go-to places to either like hang out or just grab a bite to eat? When you got some downtime.
Man, I love trying new places to eat, bro. Like I'm just a dinner check out new restaurant junkie. You know what I mean? Lately, man, I wonder if I get sponsorship dollars for calling some of these people out. But like, no,
Right.
lately, me, man, I've always been a sushi person, but it
Yeah.
breaks the bank every time. But on special occasions, I'll do like MF sushi just to get that otherworldly experience of fresh flown in fish from overseas flavored in
Yeah.
a way that you're normally not going to get. Down to a staple of mine is Desta, Ethiopian. There's a spot over here on Scott Boulevard called Zyka that I like to eat at. But as far as hanging out, man,
Yeah.
if I don't have when I got my kids, is kid friendly stuff, right? So I'll
Yeah.
go to the parks. We hit up all the parks. We'll go to the Beltline, ride around. When the weeks I
Beltline,
don't
nice.
have my yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean the Beltline's always got something to do for adults and kids. The weeks I don't have my kids, I go through phases where I just don't leave the house, bro, and I just paint the whole time. It's last night I was up till I painted from like 6 p.m. to like 4 a.m., bro, and
Yeah.
I woke up about an hour or two ago to get on here with you. That was my night. But had that not been happening, if I was going out, man, I might go to some bars in Edgewood, East Atlanta, go to a cigar
Mhm.
bar. I'm always up for I like dive bars, bro. Like I like going to some grimy little dive bar spots where it's nothing swank, low key. Go
Yeah.
in there, have a couple of drinks, maybe it's a cigar bar, go smoke over there, whatever. That's about it, man. It's been low key lately, and then of course art shows, which is what Eugene and that Future Dead Gallery artist really. It's not like I didn't know it, but it reminded me. Like, dude, I don't go out and engage in the the industry enough, the art industry, I'm sure, I know
Yeah.
for a fact, I would be way more, I'd be much further along and much more known would I get my art out more. So I am looking for that, you know, like if I see events coming up, I'll try to hit them up. I'm telling other artist friends, yo, let me know. They're even pulling me out. They're like, dude, you gotta come out.
Definitely.
Yeah, my friend Adela that she was part of the Future Gallery thing too. She runs a trap museum.
Yeah.
And she was like, man, you gotta go out. She'll send me shows I need to be going to. She's like, and she'll introduce me to people like, hey, you need to know him. He's an up and coming artist who's gonna get out. So that's a good motivator, and I need to do more of that, man. So that's usually where I'm at though.
Nah, definitely, man. A lot of people got to see that work, man. I'm actually gonna pull up your website with a couple prints you got as well. Like seeing the one that you had with the outer space and then read the caption as well. Like
yeah,
that definitely stood out. But when you just came out and said, hey, I started art late, and I
Yeah.
look like, when I seen the art piece, I'm thinking like, man, this man been doing this all his life. Like that's the perception I get when I see art is fine as what I be seeing, like.
Thank you, man.
So I be thinking like a person being indulged in that, like it looks like he perfected it, like to the point where it's like real artistic work, So
I appreciate
when
that,
I heard
man.
that, I was just like, man, like usually you don't hear too many stories. People like, yeah, man, I just turned this into it, and I started at this age. Like usually at an early age, a lot of people perfect their things then, and turn it into something. So that was definitely dope to hear that.
Thank you, bro. That seriously, it means a lot, man. Those little comments like that are really what motivated me probably more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, they always say like it's always the people that don't know you as well is gonna show a lot more support too, because it's like I don't know you, but seeing your art is like man, that's some dope art. Like
because you don't really owe that to me, man. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, my friends, I would hope they feel like some sort of obligation to big me up and help me out, but like we don't know each other, man. And your podcast alone is supporting people like me and other creatives and people that are growing themselves as it is. So to hear that from you, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man, it's the underdog podcast, the underdog mentality. So it's just like it's never a situation, even though it's like, we all go through hurdles and everything in life, but it's just like, all right, we all reach new stages of growth. So, we just trying to promote the growth and promote the positivity and, give, the red carpet at the same time. Like it's a platform for people with a name or a name coming up or don't have a name yet. Like it's for everybody, because everybody deserves that if you put in the work in.
That's beautiful, man. That's what I love about this podcast.
Definitely. So all right, let's take it from the top. How did you become interested in art, in particular, like that led you where you are today?
So, man, I was always the type to doodle everywhere. Like it would just be all of my parents' house. I drew on the walls, all that stuff. So I was always into some level of creativity. When I didn't really pursue that, and when I started getting in trouble at a younger age, I kind of got away from it. Later on in life, my ex actually, she saw me doodling everywhere. She's like, "Why don't you like just take a class, just do something with this?"
Right.
And so I took a community class, man, with this guy who ended up being my mentor, a guy named Pat Hobaugh. He was leading these community classes. I went to one of his classes, dude, and it was like crack, man. As soon as I went, man, I was obsessed, dude. Like everything, it's like I started it all. She kind of joked with me about this because I went a little far with it, but like I feel like I activated another part of my brain that I was not using.
Yeah.
So much to the point where I was like, man, I was convinced that I did. I started like getting into these documentaries and podcasts about brain activity and neuron patterns.
Oh man.
And in actuality, I did activate another part of my brain, because when you learn a new skill, you start a new neuron pattern in your brain that conjures up other parts of your brain, man. So that shit is real. So I started seeing things different, man. Like I went to places and things I kind of learned in that 1 or 2 art classes about shadows and warm colors and cool colors and the way the light hits on people.
Right.
Everybody I was with, I just sit there, stare at them and be like, man, you got this sliver of light right here. that other people don't have. If I was drawing, you had to add that right there. So I think that's when it, that was what, 10-ish years ago now, 8, 10 years, something like that.
Right.
That's when it started to take off, and ever since then, man, it's just gotten deeper and deeper.
Nah, that sounds like when you just stumbling upon a passion, like it was always there, but it was like it
Yes,
almost reactivated.
it did, man. It was dormant, just asleep, and then I woke it up, and when I woke up, it just spread, and just became bigger.
Right. So define art in your own words, though, from your perspective, being an artist. May
It's
I
a
say,
feeling, man. Mhm.
or a based artist, or painting portrait. Yeah,
Based artist.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I'll take that in two parts. Art to me, like you said, bro, can be music too. It's anything that makes you feel a way, man. Like that's real. Like me and my friends, we got this little chat group. Constantly, anytime you hear, oh, this is top five arguments all day, every day, right? And
Yeah.
like my top musical artists or influences, which constantly change depending on what mood I'm in,
Right.
don't ever align with theirs, and they're like, "No, man, he don't have enough album, blah, blah, blah." But
Yeah.
it's how it hits you, man. And like if you're going through something at a certain time, and an album comes out that's
Hmm.
deep, that hits on that at a certain time, you connect to it. You know what I mean? So to
Yeah.
me, that's art. That's the connection of something that somebody created and you feeling it. Music, painting, drawing, basket weaving, whatever it is. Where I take it from my perspective is taking what someone wants to see visually. And sure, I could recreate that, and probably early on I did. Sitting here painting famous musicians that passed away, which is kind of what I'm still stuck on now with doing Prince, but that's another story.
Right.
But like, doing that, but then the artist part of it is coming in to where now I'm incorporating my own speed or my own take on it. I'm not I feel like I'm a pretty different type of dude. And I really want to emphasize that. So I think what it's meaning to me now is, sure, I'll take a painting of what I need to paint, whether it be the piece that we talked about with the space, or the one that you
Yeah.
mentioned, which we'll come back to in a minute because that piece meant a lot to me. Um, whether it be my own collection with my own thoughts of something I'm into with no outside influence at all, versus me doing a commission where now I would have just regularly painted prints, but no, I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna take a palette knife and make it real choppy looking and dirty and edgy and grimy and just everywhere and very busy because that's what I like and that's kind of different and that's incorporating my art and especially in the self portrait. I'm only doing a self portrait because I don't have one, and I was told it'd probably be a good idea to at least do a self portrait. So I'm
Yeah.
experimenting there. Like if I feel like throwing something over his mouth, I'm gonna do that. If I feel like adding a little red swirl to his eye, which I did, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. That's really making it your own work at that point. Like
Exactly,
something that stands out. To the person that's visualizing it.
exactly, and
Oh,
that's what art is to me.
definitely. So, who would you say made you the person you are today, and why?
It's I wish I'm not the type to Man, I'm not the type to use I don't know how else to explain this, but I don't really use absolutes, right? Like I won't say like everything's great. I would say certain things are great. So like as far as main people, I would say it's a culmination of anybody that's influenced me in my life. My mom and dad who are my heart, my kids who are my heart, constantly motivate me. And I think my father taught me a lot about what it takes to lead a family and take care of a family.
Yeah.
But my mom is probably who made me who I am as far as a person with my values and love for things. I would say she did it, and then my kids continue to just inspire me, man. Like they're man, you know, you've got kids, man, like, or a kid, well, two now. Congrats, by the way. Um, you know how it is, man. They got no filter, man. They're gonna
Yeah,
tell you. They're gonna tell you how they feel,
yeah,
and like it just that raw, uncut truth
yeah.
feeds me. You know, it does. It motivates me. It feeds me, and it's something from like that I feel here in my heart that I'm not, you know, that I'm not making up. Like that's what drives me. My kids, they motivate me. That's what makes my heart happy. So yeah, they have. I think about them so much in my life that I try to like because I've done some dumb shit in my life. Who hasn't? But when I
Right.
think about that, like it kind of forces me in the mold into being sure that I'm doing things to help me stay alive for as long as I can and healthy and brain wealthy and you know being able to be an influence to them. So I would say family is made me who I am.
Definitely, man. Family is everything.
Yeah, absolutely,
Um,
man.
what advice would you give to those that put limitations on themselves mentally, like using, you know, say their age as an excuse to stop learning and perfecting new skills? Like,
Man, I'm a big science nerd, bro. Like I grew up being actually kind of spiritual and religious. But my brain was I'm the type to question everything, right? I ever since I was a child, man,
yeah,
I would question, you know, I grew up Muslim, right? But I'd always question everything because things from the Quran, if you're open-minded enough, you're gonna question things, right? I
yeah,
would question things, and the my parents would be like, "Stop questioning things."
yeah,
And I decided to
yeah, I feel
study Christianity. I started to study Judaism, and I went to these churches and these synagogues because my mind was always searching, right? That was just the way I'm built. And they tell me the same thing, man. Like, well, stop questioning it, man. It just happened. It's
right.
like, I just don't. I don't. That's not good enough for me,
Yeah,
man.
you need answers.
Yeah, I need
Yeah,
answers, right? So I thought, and I don't think that I'll ever get all the answers, maybe
right.
one day, but I started studying like science and evolution, which is real shit, right? Because
Yeah.
we've got documentation and proof of certain things happening. Certain things are made up and people, media
Hmm.
stretches it, but there's certain things that are,
Man,
you burn all these books, man, you burn the religious books, you burn the science books, the things that will be proven again I don't want to get struck by lightning here, but the things will be proven again is the shit that's been proven, right? Like
right.
we'll just prove it again, right? Like here's fossils, will improve DNA. That shit really happened. So me starting to believe in evolution and learning how it's tied to our brain and how like every generation kind of evolves into their environment
Yeah,
and we're living longer than ever now because we are doing things to our bodies or taking care of our health. We're learning about stuff, or we're living longer, healthier lives. It all ties back to, dude, you don't have to die and stop, man. Like it ain't what we thought it was when our parents were. When
right.
my parents were 30 and 40, I was like, man, they're old as hell, you know. And now that's perception, dude. Like you don't have to stop. You can constantly keep evolving your brain by learning a new skill, pushing your limits, pushing your boundaries, and that's real because you know there's documentaries and studies on like expanding your brain and expanding your creativity, and you do it by like learning new skills, which
Yeah,
creates new neuron patterns, by doing something that scares you, by pushing your boundaries, which activates more parts of your brain. Like that's is growth, bro. So like
yeah.
if you can do that, why can't you push the limits of everything you know and keep growing and keep getting better? Because if you don't, man, you're gonna fade out,
Yeah,
and that's not where you want to be.
it's like flatlining, you know, a heartbeat goes
Yes,
up and down. So if you
yes,
at a point
man,
where it's just like I know everything, I'm comfortable, I don't want to, you're flatlining yourself, you know. And it's like
100%, man.
the brain needs more nourishment of, you know, doing different things. Like I feel like my thing personally is like me balancing a lot of different things like time management, because it's like I do multiple things like podcasts, music,
Hmm. Hmm.
clothing. I'm trying to dive into now.
I'll be,
So yeah, man, it's just
yeah.
finding balance with all that for me, but still try to keep everything kind of going.
Yeah, I mean, I think, man, to that point, it's a good thing you're doing that, man, because I got too many friends and people I know, family, all that. It's like they get dormant, man. Like they don't do nothing new, and kids stay young because they're constantly learning and questioning. You know what I mean?
Right,
And their brain's busy, and of course, there's a physical aspect to it. Like their brain's literally developing as they're
right,
growing. But as you become older, man, like why stop learning, Brand? Like why if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it.
right. Nah, definitely. Um, so what was the first piece of art that you created that sparked your creativity even more? Like to keep you going? Like what was that first one you did?
Man, I wish I didn't paint over, it, bro. It's right here. I would do a handstand, turn it upside down so you could really see it. But it was a self portrait, man. I did of
Yeah,
myself, and it wasn't my first painting, but it was the first painting that I did where I was like, all right, time to like, you know, do something different, man. It was a I did my face, but I contorted it, right? Like I started twisting the neck and twisting my features and making it real crazy looking. I had one eye separate from the rest of the body, and then I
yeah,
had a half moon built in, and then I started going with the flow of what I felt at the time. And before I knew it, subconsciously I painted myself with a half moon and a teardrop coming out, and I was like, damn. And my eye was a globe, and I don't think I really realized at the time. I mean, my subconscious mind must have that I had painted myself a globe crying with a half crescent moon. The half crescent moon and the star in Islam signifies peace, right?
yeah,
Um, the world was on fire and has been on fire for many, many reasons back
yeah,
then and now. And then the teardrop dripping from it, like the world was crying, and then the piece was on the other side. My face was contorted. After I was done, I was like, man, that means a whole lot more than what I thought when I was doing it. I didn't think when I was doing it, I was going. I was just
right,
flowing. I was in that zone that we talked about, right? And I was
right,
like, that's it, man. That's it. Like, I need to take that zone and not worry about outside influence and not worry about what's going to sell and all that, and um, really focus on what I feel. And that's where that piece set it off to me. I ended up painting over it because it looked like shit. I thought it
yeah,
just wasn't good talent wise, but I probably should have kept it as a reminder. But luckily, I got it tattooed on me, so
yeah.
it's a constant reminder.
Yeah, man, that's very detailed as you explained that. Like that had me thinking, like what's the process? Like, what was the creative process like for you when you started? Like, just with that, like with a blank canvas with nothing on it.
Yes.
Like, what's your process? Like, how does the ideas feel? Like, is it inspiration for something else, or is just the mind just sometimes just put it together?
Man, I think a lot of people ask me that like some of the shit they're like, man, what the fuck were you like? What were you on? Like, what were you thinking? Like, how did you
Right,
even get to this point?
right,
And dude, I swear to God, it's the subconscious mind, man. I know
yeah,
I'm nerding out with that brain documentary stuff, but like, I
yeah,
really is deep, bro. Like, if you haven't like studied like or read some of these books like Sapiens or some of these documentaries like The Creative Brain on
yeah.
Netflix. But it
I might have
is
to watch that.
yeah, it's crazy how the brain is stimulated. Like there's certain things that if they're doing a CT scan and they flash certain images in front of your brain, like there's certain parts of your brains that light up, and there's
Mm,
different parts for different people. People that are into like adrenaline junkies, if they see something dangerous in their mind, like
yeah,
the evolutionary part of their brain, the frontal cortex or whatever it's called.
yeah.
I'm really nerding out now, but like it would just like light up, right? There'd be
Like
a
in
lot of
that
energy
specific
there.
area, like,
Yes, yeah, man.
all
So
right,
like I was like, all right, I want to channel that, you know. So sometimes just without just thinking, like I might be on a call for work and I'll sit there doodling, not even thinking.
right,
And there'll be some wild shit that doesn't make sense, but it came from my subconscious without me incorporating my conscious mind on it. Because your conscious mind gets involved, man, you start thinking about all the inside influence. What's gonna sell? What's hot? Does this look good? Is that even nice? What versus your subconscious mind is just it's raw.
It
It's your
brings it
real
out of
thing.
you, kind of like,
Right, right. So
yeah,
I try to find a
feel
way
that.
to tap into that, man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely I didn't think of it like that. Like
Mhm.
that's why I might have to look at like I might have to watch that documentary because I be thinking to myself like even writing music like the words just come out of me like the hearing the beat is one thing, but everything that comes after that it's like I don't know how it's really no explanation to it. It just comes together. Like
Isn't that beautiful though? That's probably the richest, for lack of a better word, that's like the richest part, right? Like that
right.
feels like real, raw,
Yeah.
deep, uncut shit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, I might harmonize or whatever because I'm getting a tone, and then I might add like a cadence in there to how I'm gonna go about like, vocally on the song, and then the words just fill in the blanks. Like it's different. But
Especially when you hit that zone and it just starts coming out.
right. Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
I'm definitely gonna have to look at that documentary though. Like that's
Yeah,
something
man.
like I did kind of watch videos on dopamine and stuff like that because
Yeah, yeah. Which is
another
part of it.
thing, I want to detox completely with that too. So,
Oh
uh,
shit. Okay, that sounds like a journey. You gotta document
yeah,
that, man.
yeah, I want to get into that because it's habits of different habits, good habits, and
Yeah.
habits that I want
Yeah.
to let go. So yeah, it's definitely
We
like
we all deal with it, bro.
it's like reincarnating myself at a new age. So
Well, and it's trying something new, man,
yeah,
which is big, and it takes discipline. I'm sure you got to
right,
document that, man. If you do it,
right, yeah, it definitely does. So when you're working on your pieces, like how much time would you invest on a piece? Like, you know, how much time? Like, what's the most time you spent on a piece? Put it that way.
a year, bro. It's
Yeah,
pathetic. It's pathetic. That's why I only got like 10 pieces done, and then my OCD, man. Like I sit here and like I paint something and I start measuring the details. Like I get real OCD with it. Like I'm like, okay, but the eye is lined up with this part of the nostril, and in my painting, I got it a centimeter over. So now I got to fix that.
yeah,
So it goes. My OCD takes over, man, and it takes me way too many months, bro. Like I would say my average right now for a commission is about 4 to 6 months, probably. It sucks, man, because if I didn't work, I'd like to tell myself I'd get it done a lot quicker, and I
yeah.
probably would. Um, and so I'm trying to speed up that process, but right now it takes a long time. My favorite piece that I did, and you touched on it earlier,
Oh
the
yeah.
the the, the space piece.
That's
I
what's
did
up.
that. That when we talked about the subconscious mind and like where the idea comes from. Oh, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
The subconscious mind and where it comes from. That was totally that because I wasn't thinking, hey man, what's gonna be hot in these streets?
right.
An astronaut with a flower chasing the bee? No, that's not what came to me, right? I was listening to these evolution podcasts, right? And then I was listening to like the extinction of the honeybee and like what that
Yeah.
would do to
All the
like
crops.
dude, like it's
Yeah.
crazy downstream what
That's
that
deep.
affects.
That's
It is
deep.
deep. It
I
is
did
deep.
read that. I was like, that is deep because without the crops, like everything, and it's crazy because when it comes, I want to cut you off on that, but like,
No, you're good.
say like with lizards, every insect has like its purpose, like, and without
Yes.
that insect doing it, like you say with the bee, the crops would be dead. Like,
They would, and then we'd have to evolve, and people would have to evolve and to be able to survive without them, and then the humans that we know today wouldn't be the same humans in 100 years, and they're probably not going to be, bro, because the
right,
world is changing, the earth is changing,
man,
and that's just evolution.
kids are evolving way faster than like
Yes, bro.
I was at my age. Like, man, they're like, I don't know. I already know my son will be real tall already. He's like in the 99 percentile. It's like,
It's
Yeah,
crazy,
he's
right?
bigger than the kids at his age already. I'm like, yeah, he's it's crazy.
And think about athletes too, man. Like
Yeah,
everybody, like always, I don't get caught up in comparing like the LeBrons to the MJs because it's
yeah,
just different. It's just a
yeah,
different
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Athletes are built different now. You got hyperbolic chambers you can sleep in now. You know what I mean? Back then, you used to smoke a cigar after the game and shit. You
Gonna be one
know,
of those things. Like
yeah,
like back in 2023, this is what humans look like. Like
exactly. It was gonna be different, man. I won't be around to prove it, unless I preserve my body. But that's another story. But with this one, man, like I was like, I was listening to these podcasts about the bee thing, right? And then I
right,
was already up on evolution, and I was already had been, I keep up with like what's happening to the Earth, man. That eventually one day we're probably gonna need to occupy Mars or a different planet or something. So that's how this whole painting came together, right? Like chasing the bee onto where there is photosynthesis and there is
right.
agriculture and they do pollinate, you know what I mean? Like finding a new beginning,
Find
right?
like life.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
And that was the subconscious mind. That's just where it went based on what I was listening to at the time, what was on my mind, what I was dreaming about, what I woke up thinking about, what I pictured in my brain. And then I would start painting and I just kind of went with it. And then to the point where, even when I was listening to it at the time, I was listening to that new Lupe album.
oh
And
man,
there's
yeah,
Lupe lyrically, man, like
yeah,
that
yeah.
when I'm
Lupe,
painting, I like Lupe's another level.
yeah,
But when I'm painting, I don't like to I don't listen to the same shit that I would listen to if I'm out riding around or in the gym. You know what I mean?
right,
It's
right.
it's
Yeah,
different
it's,
vibes. Like
I feel
and
that.
yeah, you know how that goes, right? Because music
Yes, in the
influences
gym, I
you.
need so much energy. I need all type of like everything I can
Ignition.
get. Yeah, I
Yeah,
need
yeah.
everything I can get. But like you say, on a mellow vibe, when I'm working on, I'm trying. I need something. Like I said, it got to be something with substance though. Like,
Exactly. It hits different, right? And that's
yeah,
what actually that's where the title came from because he had one. I don't remember exactly where he said, but from the signal is the source or something like that. And it just popped in my head. I was like, be the signal from the source. And that's why I
yeah,
ended up naming it. But the point is, all of that was probably the most subconscious type of work I did because it wasn't, nobody commissioned me for it. I did it for myself. I was going to hang it up right here and then I show it at Future Gallery, and it's the first piece to sell. I'm like,
yeah,
damn, man, what
yeah,
I felt in my subconscious mind, no commission, try to take out as much outside influence as possible as a piece that sold. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, that's the move. That's the ticket. That's what I gotta hone in on. Unfortunately, I haven't yet because I'm caught up on commissions, but I'm gonna bring back the next commission. I gotta work on another commission for somebody, but I'm also gonna work on things I'm into or what's on my brain at the time, which would be something like this.
definitely, man. Like
Yeah.
that's huge, man. Because like you say, to see something from the mind become tangible, like that's the biggest thing
Yes,
too.
man.
Like you say, from the subconscious mind to you being able to hold this and it's tangible, for everybody else to enjoy.
Yeah, man. It felt good. Did I lose you?
I mean,
Oh, okay.
being you specialize in oil painted portraits, what about that style of art stood out to you? As there many other styles of art you could have indulged in? Like,
Yeah, man. I think most people that was starting out in art were like, try acrylics. It's much easier. Try acrylics. And I'm sure the class I took wasn't oil paints, and I think I just kind of have a I don't know, man. I think when I first started getting into art, I knew that like these people back in the day that created art would just take like dirt and pigment from the ground or some sort of powder they crushed up some rock and then add oil to it or like linseed oil, stir it up, and then just come up with these oil paints. And it was just it sounded so deep and so much cooler to me on the surface than plastic acrylic paints. At the time, that's no knock on acrylic because acrylic definitely has its place. But that's what stood out to me. And then when I started getting into it, I saw like a lot of the older classical artwork, no matter where it came from, had more of a an oil type style. And now that I've gotten into painting, oil works better for me because I'm the type to sit there and correct something over and over 20 times, right? Like I was
Yeah.
telling you, like if the nose don't align with that left side of the pupil, I gotta start over because I'm anal like that. With oil paint, I can it's wet, it stays wet, man. Like I can go over it forever. I can wipe it, I can blend it
Yeah.
the next day if I want to. You know what I mean? It stays wet that long.
Oh,
It
that's a
allows
lot of
me to,
control.
yeah, it is. Where with acrylic, you know, you can paint right over it, but when I first started painting, I was into blending a whole lot. Like I would blend. I didn't like any straight edges, which was a big difference from drawing, right? When you draw somebody's nose, you're gonna draw a line around the nostrils. You
Right.
kind of got a line here, but in reality, if you look at somebody's face, there's no lines here. It's just lighter on the tip of the nose and gets darker as it goes back because the shadow's hitting there and the light's hitting here.
Mm.
So with paint, that's the difference, right? You don't paint a line there. I mean, you could, I guess, you just paint different colors, right? So that's when I got into blending, and that was so much easier with oil. And then obviously all the stuff with the background of oil and the history of it made me want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are there any times where you had like creator's block? And if so, how do you work through those moments? Like any techniques you develop over time?
Um, yeah. I've had a block here and there. I think I just fight through it, man. I just look for some sort of outside influence that's going to channel my subconscious, whether it be music,
Yeah.
because music does get you in your own zone sometimes, especially if you're listening to something deep. You just kind of flow off and you're into that, and then it just comes out. You know what I mean? Um, I used to when it used to happen. It's weird, but I heard about it a long time ago. When you're in your sleep and you're in your rapid eye movement sleep, your REM
Mhm.
sleep, right? That's typically when you're dreaming. Um, if you right when you wake up, because I would always forget my dreams the next day or hours later, but then I started writing everything down. As soon as I woke up, I had a journal next to me. I'd write down what I dreamt about or what I thought I dreamt about because I couldn't really tell.
Right.
Um, and it kind of I think music tying into my subconscious. Everybody's got their own ways of doing it. But that's kind of what got me out of that, right? Like I just I try to figure out a way to tap into not what my conscious mind is telling me and getting in my own head of, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you're not that nice. Oh, this isn't going to look good. And rather just following what was instinct more than anything else. I don't remember who said it, but I saw it during a Basquiat documentary,
Yeah.
and on the I remember they wrote something along the lines of, and I needed to hear this at the time because I was in my head real bad and it was stopping me from doing art
Yeah.
or causing me to get stuck. I would he said, or somebody had said, um keep making art while everybody else is judging it and deciding what you should have done or what you shouldn't have done. And I'm paraphrasing it, some shit like this. Just keep making art. Just keep
Yeah.
going. Just keep going. And to
Mhm.
do that, like you can't think about it too much. You just got to go. And that's kind of my mentality, and that's how I get out of my own way a lot of the time.
Nah, that's big, man. Like you say,
Yeah.
sometimes our thoughts, like we think too much on it, it's gonna like prolong what we're doing, and then it kind of like
Yes.
instead of just going, just do it. Like,
I'm a thinker, man. I overthink,
yeah,
probably overthink everything, man. But I just try to find a way to like get beneath that surface level in the brain and go to the subconscious mind, you know?
right. Yeah, I feel like even overthinking sometimes it's a red blue pill because like I'm
Yes.
a thinker too, so it's like I'm gonna make sure I make my best move, like because like you said, growing up and finding yourself, like you more of a like risk taker more so, but it's like
Yes.
be a risk taker, but be a risk taker that's strategic too at the same time. Like make sure like I gave my all and did my best when I decided to make this decision. Not just like I'm just gonna
Willingly.
give a little bit of effort in it, and then it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
nah, definitely. So
Yeah. If you can commit to it.
yeah. So when creating, when do you decide a painting is done? Like when you decide, like, all right, I'm not finna touch it no more. Like it's done.
The man, I'll finish all the layers of a painting. Every painting I got hanging up in here, I feel like touching up constantly. I
Yeah.
can't. I'm horrible at that answer. I will tell you that if it's something I gotta get out, I'll at least get all the layers done. I'll sit there and touch it up. And you're probably this way with music, I would assume. Being a creative and being a thinker.
Right.
You'll do a track, I'll do a painting. And one night, that night, I'm like, okay, I think I'm good now. But then you come out the next day, you're like, nah, because you're laying in bed,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
mind's going, and the next day you're
Yeah.
listening to it or looking at it. I'm like, no, I could do this, I could do that.
Yeah.
That's when I know I'm like, man, I need to keep it going. I need to move on. Although I know I can, I gotta just move on. Unless it
Yeah.
just eats at me real bad. And man, I'm not gonna lie, there's a few pieces in here that eating at me real bad. I did a mural at this barbershop. Shout out to Ideal Barbers in Grant Park, Mike Andrews shop, dope ass barbershop by the way. But
Yeah.
I did a mural for them, and every time I'm in there getting a haircut, my barber is sitting right in front of that mural. So I'm constantly staring at it, man.
Yeah.
And I just want to break out the paints and keep going in every time. And so I don't know that I don't know that I'm ever done with a piece, but
Right.
I sometimes just have to force myself, man. And I'm still searching for that point of when I truly should be done because I'm not there yet.
Yeah, nah, I definitely relate, man, because it's like with music, it's like when you dive into the mixing and all that, like with vocals, like I might, if I record a song, I might listen to the song like all day, or I might listen to it like back to
Yep.
back to back. That I don't want to hear nobody else. Like it might be the levels I might hear some of my vocals I don't like, and then that's when I'm gonna go over it again. Like, or I might just be like, it's something you'll feel if it's right. Like you'll know if it's right when you feel it.
Do
But it
you
might
feel
be,
like you hit that though? Like, do you feel like you got some songs where you're like, all right, I'm done, it's ready to go, but
yeah,
in the back of your mind, you're still like, you hear it again, you're like, man, I
yeah.
could do this right
Something got to be. Yeah, I've reached the point where like some are done, but I reached the point to where some hasn't been released because I'm like, yeah, before I present this, like actually, put this out, I have to make sure it's right for the consumer, like people that's gonna listen, like because the
Yeah,
first impression is everything, in a
it
sense,
is,
because
man.
yeah, it's a lot of people know how to do music, but then you got to think about the people that don't. So it's gonna always be a new person channeling in, like. So it's like
Exactly,
I would have
and
made sure I leave some type of impression, whether it's what I said, my wordplay, or whatever. Like something had to stand out.
that's where it's a little bit different for visual artists, right? Because sometimes, man, you being a musician, you might just get one listen and that's it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Where with visual, it's hanging there. You're gonna be forced
yeah,
to see it. You know what I
yeah.
mean? With you, you got sometimes, like you said, you might only have one shot.
Right.
Sometimes, you know what I mean? To capture them. Do you have somebody that you bounce some of the ideas off of to where they're telling you, "Nah, man, I think it's ready to go."
Yeah, my co-host, like close people to me that I really value, like they got my best interests. Like, all right, yeah, I think that'll go, or just not nobody just saying like, okay, yeah, I like that. I like that. Like, no, tell me if something, sounds like a certain way.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah, like I can take
Yeah.
that. I'm built for it. I've been doing music like half of my life already. So it's like
Mm.
I've dealt with the early, of when I had to find my sound. Once I found my sound, find my artistry, how do I sound like? Because right now music is at the point like it's fair game and I respect it because I mean everything is gonna evolve. So you
Right.
got people that's doing music now where they might not be as talented, but they might have charisma. Like it's not just locked into
It's not about
how
that
what it
anymore.
Yeah, like it's not locked
Yeah.
into lyricism and who really has the talent. It's more like what
Yes.
else do they have to offer? Like, yeah, the song
Yeah.
might sound like this, but it's something
Yes.
about them that's gravitating people toward them, you know.
Especially
Like,
nowadays.
you know, and it's like one thing I noticed too, like everybody sounds the same. So I can me
Yes.
being a listener,
Yeah.
actually valuing music is like I can listen and tell who's really been doing what for how long, or if they just really just, you know, they just started. Like it's something about the artist, like because if they just mimicking another artist, which they do in the industry as well, like they're always gonna try to find somebody to replace you that sounds like you. So
Yes.
you have to be
Yeah.
original. Like originality is
Exactly.
everything, you know.
Yeah, and there's
That's
not a lot of it.
that's why I respect a lot of artists that was, you know, either late 90s or early 2000s and stuff like they're rare
Hmm.
form because you're not gonna hear sounds like that too much now. Like it's
That we're
different.
looking to be a little different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like music
Yeah.
was music. Like, and it's like I don't want to sound aged in, but it's like I know something's not right with this. Like, this is
Yeah.
not right. Like, you know, I'm not tolerating it. Like, it's like bad food. Like, I don't want it. Like, you
Yeah.
know, if it
I'm the
gets
same way, bro.
yeah, if it gets too crazy, like, what I'm gonna listen to, man? Like, what this guy really just said in this song? Like, I'm like, no, I don't let stuff just fly. Like, nah, it's all right. I like the beat though. Like, no, like,
And then
nah, we
your
got
your critique.
yeah. It's like you
Yeah.
know, I enjoy some of it, but some of it's like, all right, man, it's getting too crazy. Like,
Yeah, like you said, there's different flows, man. Something in the gym I just need to motivate me, and it can be
yeah,
the most ignorant shit,
yeah,
but it just got me hype.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I put on DMX and go in the gym. I'm not going in there barking at everybody. You know
right,
what I mean? But
yeah,
like that's not the vibe I'm on. That's not the vibe I'm on when I'm painting or I want to think.
right,
You know?
yeah. So, is there a specific brand of oil paint you use that you would consider the best?
Nah, not really, bro. Like honestly, man. Most of my stuff is Winsor Newton.
Yeah.
And I think those paints have served me the best. I know the problem
Mhm.
is sometimes when I switch up brands, if there's an ultramarine blue made by Winsor Newton, and then I get an ultramarine blue made by Utrecht or something like that, it's not the same color
Right.
exactly, so it doesn't go that well. And the way I operate, and I think probably the way a lot of artists end up operating is shit, you need a tube of paint, you need it like ASAP. So I'll just go on Amazon and search for,
Mhm.
the oil paint, the color, and I'll try to find the brand I already have and just order it so it'll get there the next day or in a couple of days.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure some material like nah, you'll never put your hands on just because probably a
Yes.
bad experience from it. Like it's like it ain't gonna come
Yeah.
out to yeah.
Yeah, there's some, man, like I'll squirt it out the tube and there's just be a bunch of oil that comes out, and then I'll get little droplets of a color, and it's just shitty, So I'm like, all right, I'm not using that brand anymore,
Right.
But I'm sure if I do more research into it, I probably could pick that apart a little bit more. But I haven't had too many bad experiences yet. I don't buy the cheap beginner shit either, though.
Yeah.
Like I buy, you know what I mean? Like if I
Mhm.
I want my paintings to last, many, many, many years. So I try to use like good quality shit, you know.
Yeah. Matter of fact, hold on one second. I want to ask
You
you
know, you're good, man.
something. Hold on real quick.
You're good.
Oh man. So this is actually a unique piece, right? I don't know if you probably see it, but let me see.
It's kind of cutting out.
It's cutting out.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, it's cutting out. I think it's the green screen. But
Yeah.
let's see. I actually sent you a picture of it, man, in the
Yeah.
DM. But it's like it's a unique piece, right? Because I actually was grabbing something to eat in Atlanta, and stopped and it was like I guess a homeless guy or whatever. I don't know what type of material you use. It's kind of hard. It must be wood, but I think it's a oil. I think it's an oil base, to be honest.
Okay.
But
On wood.
yeah, yeah. But it's like he did all like the legend boxes on it, and I'm like, man, how much do you know? Based on like, I'm thinking it's expensive. Like how much he
Right.
used, like, man, it's just $5. And I'm like, man, I had to grab that,
What?
but
I'll take two.
it's yeah, it's definitely, it was different. I'm like, man, like I was like, even him being homeless, like that doesn't define his talent. Like, you got a lot
No,
of
it
people out
doesn't,
here
bro.
that's gifted, man. Like that was just
They
like,
are, man. Man, some of them may just fell on some unfortunate circumstances, man. I mean
right,
that may be the case too. So
right. And
yeah,
I'm
I mean
like,
like you said, I mean he was homeless, man, and it ain't necessarily you
right,
can't that don't limit his talent, you know.
right. So I'm like, man, like people will be, judgmental on certain things. Like, all right, it's homeless, let me overlook them. But it's like it's a lot of talented people, people that got a lot of skills out here. It's just
hundred
like you
percent,
say,
man.
it's unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah, and
Um,
especially if it speaks to you, man. Like
right,
what's to say what's good or what's not good if it touches you in a way that that's
right,
mission accomplished. You know.
yeah, definitely. So, what was your first experience like? Of being like a part of exhibitions, like,
Oh man, I didn't know what I was doing at first, bro. I went in there humble. I've always been humble about it, to an extent. My first exposure was I think the Grant Park Summer Shade Fest. And I learned festival art's a little different from regular museum art. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure some people, but it's not too often that you're gonna get people going into festivals like Grant Park Summer Shade Festival, for example, thinking, "Hey, I'm gonna spend $3,000 on an oil painting today, or 5,000." You know what I mean?
yeah,
Typically, most of the art that sells at stuff like that is like something under $100, something kind of quick. So I was trying to kind of learn my lane, and then the cost of setting up a booth, a tent, all the work that went into it, it wasn't my look. I think my look now has been stuff like where you met me at, right? At the Future Gallery,
yeah,
which is a gallery that does attract not only art collectors, but people that are into art and coming up in art, learning about art, etc. And not only Future Gallery, but there's plenty of galleries around Atlanta. Some I've shown at my friend Decoro. He doesn't have his gallery anymore, but that was kind of the same vibe, right? Like you could get collectors in there all the way down to people that are just looking to get into art.
right.
I mean, I hope to continue to evolve into some of these finer shows, and that's part of me socializing a little bit more and getting out more and meeting more artists, where I can maybe link up with them and we can start some sort of collective where we can go in as a group of artists into some of these museums and galleries and all of a show rather than just one going in there, like for example at Basel where you have to be represented by a gallery. You know what I
Oh
mean?
wow,
Yeah, or a collective. Well, what's to say we can't start our own gallery? What's to say we can't start our own collective? You know what I
definitely.
mean? That's something I need to work on is meeting other artists that are interested in it. And I'm sure I've met others. I've met some really great artists, some really cool people. But I haven't really. It's on me. I haven't talked to them about joining some sort of group or even being social enough to be in some of these groups to where we could show together, you know?
Wow, definitely. It'll come with time, man. It's like you got the
Yeah.
idea. It's just like, when we put our ideas in action.
Yeah. You're right,
But
man.
nah, it's definitely one of those markets though. Like Atlanta is definitely a place for art, as I see.
It's it's definitely turning even more into that now than it was before, man, which is great. There's a lot of history in
Right,
Atlanta. There's a lot of diversity in Atlanta. There's a lot of black
right,
culture in Atlanta.
right.
It makes it a lot different from anywhere, really. So there's no reason that the creativity piece, since music creatively is already taken off here, why hasn't art become bigger than it has in the past? And I feel like it's going there though.
Right.
You know.
Definitely. So, what factors influence the price of your artwork when like people inquire for commission?
You know, like, man, at first I was just winging it. Like, I go to the art shows and be like, oh man, like this piece is selling for this much. I feel like I'm about on that level. Maybe I charge this much. Also, what I used to do is I painted a commission for somebody, man. I put in so much into it and so much time that when I was done, I was like, "Hey, bro, like, can I just give you a replica and me keep the original?" You know, so like I was out of touch with it, and then I thought, oh, because I liked it so much that I could sell it for a price that it probably wasn't worth. So then I started kind of, becoming a little more in touch with reality and looking at how people really do price art. And so I came up with this um, uh, theory or thought process of, okay, per square inch rather than per time, because I can't charge per hour because I'm putting a shitload of hours, man. Like, and I
Yeah,
can't keep track of it. So I price per square inch. So I'll say now anywhere between $1 to $3 per square inch. So I'll take 16 by 20, comes out to like 380 or something, and I'll multiply that between $1 to $3, depending on the complexity of the art.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's one thing I notice people like kind of gotta understand too. If there's art or most things, like you gotta factor in the time a person put in. Like, you know, that definitely plays a part, especially with materials and everything else. It's like, uh, how to say it, like manufacturing, like all that
Yes.
stuff adds up.
Yeah, and all should be accounted for, man.
Yeah,
You know, I know when I have the dude, then also like what's it mean to you too, right? Like I
right.
got a gig, like I got a full corporate gig that I can support myself off of, and it does. It supports me and my family, and I'm fortunate. So I don't have to sell my art. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna discount myself now. If I didn't have that job,
Right.
and obviously I need money, I'm going to probably number one compromise my art a little bit too for what will sell more,
Hmm.
and charge a lesser rate just so I can get it, just so I can get some money for it. You know, I
Yeah.
don't have to do that right now, luckily.
Yeah. Charge the value what it's worth.
Yeah, exactly. Especially to me.
Yeah. So, in your own words, how does an artist find success?
In my own words, being happy, man. Success, period, right? Like
Yeah.
no matter how you define it, if you're not happy, you ain't successful, right? So,
Yeah.
but that's a very bland answer. But at the end of the day, that's what I strive for in everything, right? Like I just wanna uh, I can follow the typical what you're supposed to be, right? You're supposed to have
Yeah.
this job, you're supposed to retire
Right.
at this age, you're supposed to have this many kids, you're supposed to be married, blah blah.
Right.
I don't subscribe to any of that. Whatever anybody's happiness is
This
whatever
is
it is for them, you
yeah.
know. Um, so I guess successful in art would be how I define it right now. Number one, be happy. But if I can, what I'm striving for is if I can focus on art full time, and I have not done anything nearly what I need to do to get to this point yet. If I can do art full time and be making the amount of money I make right now, um, then I think I'll be happy. I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. The math don't math right now. Like I don't see how I can do as well making art as I can with my corporate gig right now. So I'm trying to figure out some sort of way to be able to juggle both until I hit a point where I am able to focus on art full time. And if it ends up being later on in life, so be it. It is what it is. As long as the kids are taken care of, and I'm happy. But
Yeah.
what's required for me to be happy is I want to enjoy life, and that takes money.
Yeah.
Travel. I want to eat what I want to eat, and I do. And I get to travel, and I get to see the world. And that's important for me. But I'm not what I consider to be successful in my art yet, and I don't know that that's going to be I don't know that I'm ever going to say I hit that goal. It might just be
Yeah.
something I always strive for, which is I'll enjoy the journey.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for like with a lot of us, whatever we do is to keep going. Like it's the
Yeah.
moment you stop, like that the next day could have been the big break, or the next hour could have been the big break, or the next week. Like
Yes.
that moment you've been already working for. It's just preparing yourself for when it happened. Like. So it's like you might not see it now, but it's just the like don't stop.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep
Like,
going, man.
yeah, it's like once
Keep
you
making art.
stop, it's like you cut off. Like, man, the next you may have been doing it for X amount of time as well, and may not be seeing like, man, this might not be. But then it might be that moment, like, it could have been the next day it happened. Like, you just never know with that type of, with those moments. But I mean, when you know that you putting effort in, you being consistent in what you're doing, like, it's something great to come out of that. And as you mentioned,
Exactly.
even with the kids, it's like, well, in a sense, it's influential to them because they see you not just working, but also doing something that you like to do at the same time.
Exactly.
You
Like
know,
live your passion, man. Like
yeah,
not
that's the
not not,
biggest
not
influence.
I mean, look, man, like me and you are fortunate as it is, man, because how many people do both of us know that don't even have a hobby, bro? Most people
Right.
don't have a hobby, man. Most
Yeah.
people do their job, hang
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
and they're like, man, I wish I was an artist. Like, but you
Yeah.
probably have some sort of talent, man.
Yeah.
You probably do, and you probably could like find something that fulfills your life. And maybe it's not a hobby, maybe it's, or, maybe you really enjoy your job, but like, I don't. I like finding that extracurricular, that hobby. I think it is important, whatever it may be. That's something you're passionate about.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm gonna be brutally honest. Like even with
Hmm.
this platform and everything, like this was a thought, but it's just like turned into a passion because it's like I really feel like if I can help some type of way, like I might not be able to make the biggest change, and it could be one day, but I might
Hmm.
not be able to like change everything at one time. But the small steps are right here, will create a change, of giving people they flowers they deserve, not like creating a platform like that because a lot of media right now that I personally see, especially in the black community and stuff, is like
Hmm.
everybody tearing everybody down, like
No,
or
yeah,
certain outlets where it's all about when you look at industry
negativity.
stuff and all that, it's like I don't want to be a part of that algorithm. So if I don't like it, this is the change. Do something about like how they say if you don't like something, well, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna say, well, they're not doing enough of this or they're not doing that. It's like, well, what can I do? So, you know,
100%, man. I mean,
yeah, so,
that's big because if I'm sure other people think it, everybody sees this negativity that sells out here and these
right,
podcasts are
yeah,
nothing about
yeah,
tearing people down. Everybody, I mean, people know that there needs to be a platform for positivity, but you're actually one of the ones that's actually doing something about it. And what makes it
right,
even better is you've got a passion for it. Dude, that's fucking beautiful, man. Like
yeah.
you have no reason to stop.
Yeah, I feel like that just cleans my energy too because I actually like to see people win. It inspires me at the same time to hear interesting stories. Like everybody has $1 million story. Like we all came from different backgrounds. We all
Yes.
done went through our own trials and tribulations. So hey, all right, I look at it like art too. It's probably like a over 80 episodes, I say. So 80,
Hmm.
80 different paintings of everybody else's, story, their hourglass. You feel me? So
Yeah.
everybody that views that, whoever might come across the video, hey, they might be going through the same thing they're going through at that
Exactly,
moment.
man.
So it
Yep.
inspires them to keep going. Like an episode like this, like some people really think, oh, when they reach a certain time, certain new age or wherever they're
Yeah.
going, they feel like it's time for them to lay down, give it up. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
keep the brain, like you say, keep the brain learning and evolving. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Always, man.
important.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
So what's the best advice, the best piece of advice you've been given, like, during your lifetime? Like anything that you hold on to that, you always remind yourself.
Um, I think it comes back to what we were talking about, man. Evolving, just like constantly, never stop. Like never. My parents are getting older, man. Like, and I see it, right. What's the expression? Once an adult, twice a child, right? Like they when you get older to that level, like you start. Your brain's not as sharp as it once was. You don't think outside the box as much. You kind of just stuck in your ways. So I'm constantly telling them like, read a book, learn something new, do something that kind of pushes you out of your comfort zone, which
Right.
I'm big on. Like step outside of your comfort zone, man. That's growth. Like doing something outside your comfort zone really is growth, and that goes back to that a couple of those documentaries I'd mentioned. Like I learned that
Yeah.
from there, and plus just from life, man. It's very obvious, like to me anyway, if you're constantly evolving, evolve, and I even got tattooed right here on my leg to remind me, like always be the better version of yourself every day. Like there's no, oh, I hit this pinnacle, I'm done. No, you're always striving to be the best version of you because there's a million different circumstances you're dealing with every day. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, so
Right.
that's my life lesson. Whether it be advice or not, whether it applies to everybody or not, I don't know. But me personally, I want to get better every day at whatever it is. I'm never at that perfection point.
Yeah. I also feel like too, man, like even anybody with some sort of creative like mind, I feel like it's more of like I don't feel constricted. Like it's like your rules are your rules, but there's no
Hmm.
way that you're gonna tell me that this way is that way and that's that,
Yes.
or like it's
Yeah.
more like living against the boundaries of like you're gonna confine me in this space. Like so
Yeah.
there's no way you can tell me I can't do this. Like it's always finding a way around something. Like that's how I feel like every day, like, you know, staying aware of like the current events of what's going on, but also being like, okay, that's the rules. They say it's supposed to be like this. Like, I think
Yeah.
once I got out of the educational system of being in
Hmm.
public school and start really
Yes.
seeing everything for what it is, it's like, oh, okay, this is what was going on. Like, I really see, okay, this is,
Exactly, because they
yeah,
kind of push you in that box, right? Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I'm big on that too, man. Like, that may be your reality. That
right.
ain't it for me.
Right. It's like when you think about it, like with the education system, one person came up with this. They decided like we're gonna teach this to everybody that comes through the system, mandatory.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it's one way of thinking. So, like you
Yes.
say, somebody grow up in that system, and all they know is to work and go home, and that's it. Like that's the type of mind they would want you in a society where we all need money. We got it. That's the way it was built. So
It,
they got to have
it,
workers.
exactly. That's exactly right. It's the
Yeah.
rat race, man. It's the
They don't want
machine.
they don't want thinkers, they want workers. Like that's
Yeah,
you
and
know,
that's not what we are.
right. So what would be your dream project, if like anything to work on, like what would be like something that you would want to work on, like future reference or later on?
I really want to get back to some space themed artwork, man. I really want to get back into some space themed artwork, but find a way to incorporate portraiture into it, whether it be of my kids, of myself. Look, I don't expect nobody to buy a self portrait of me, man. Like that that don't really sell when you're not dead and famous. You know what I mean?
Right.
Unfortunately, or whatever. But like, but people are gravitating towards somebody that just looks like somebody they don't know, right? Like you can buy a painting of a little girl doing something, in the sun or whatever, and people hang it up in their house. But that's a random person. So I'm trying to figure out the angle there of being able to incorporate what my strong suit is, which I think is portrait work, which I've done most of with the palette knife, and somehow incorporate that into what I'm into, which is the evolution and space and bees and thought process and brains and all the other shit, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going on in my brain because I'm a thinker like you are, right? Like we got all stuff, and there's so much that if you let it all out uncontrolled, it's just messy and noisy, right? So you
Right.
got to control it to an aspect. So creatively, I wanted that's what I'm aspiring to do. But I'd really like to my next big goal is to be shown in a gallery that's a sizable gallery, like something that would show at the Scope show at Basel, that would show at the High Museum or something like that, or even some of these reputable some of these established galleries that have a lot of collectors going in and out of them. I want to hit that point, and I know we talked about what success looks like to me. That's a small success win. There's millions of them to me, but that would be a success, or that would be a win. That'd be a goal. But I'm not there yet, and I don't know if it's the amount of work I don't have out yet, which I'm sure plays a part into it. I think also what plays a part into it is the fact that I'm not in these circles. A lot of time, if you're out there, man, you're socializing, you meet these people, you're gonna have a better chance of being exposed and having your art out there.
Right.
We talked about it earlier. I don't do that enough. I need to work on that more. I do. I'm confident that I have the skill to make it there. I gotta do the other things now. I gotta get it out there a little bit more. I gotta produce more so I have more work to show.
Right.
And then I think I'll get there.
Nah, definitely. It's definitely on the way.
Thanks, man.
Where do you manifest? Speaking of when we're speaking of success and everything, like what do you manifest for yourself? 2023. Like, what are you claiming for SOHAIL company before the year is out?
That's my weakness, bro. That's what I need to work on. I don't think I've set a strong enough goal, but I'm gonna do it here right now on the Underdogs podcast. I need to have a solo. I need to have another show, and I don't mean it's like a big group show again, which I could do most anytime. I'm thinking either a solo show, or a small group show with one or two other artists, at a good gallery, whether it be Future, whether it be Trap, whether it be High, whether it be wherever. I haven't determined that yet, but I need to produce enough work to have a solo show, which would be at least like 10 pieces. Sad that I don't have 10 pieces right now, but a lot of them sold, so that's a good problem. Have enough work to have a solo show. That's what I'm manifesting for 2023.
Definitely. So that's really just working and not even counting the pieces. That's just going with the
grind.
flow. Yeah.
Yes, that's grind mode and not hold myself back. Like I said, I worked from 6 p.m. last night ish, right? Like I stopped and ate and did other shit or whatever.
Yeah.
But paying till 4 a.m. and I didn't really. To me, I got somewhere. Like I cleaned up some of the imperfections, but like I got so much to go with these two behind me. That it's just there's nothing else but just grind. I just need to grind, and that's probably what I'm gonna end up doing tonight and tomorrow.
Nah, definitely. The grind is a part of the process. People can't fast forward. Like you have to really sit there through the credits and go through it.
Exactly. Exactly, man. There's no shortcut.
Right. So, but most definitely, SOHAIL, man, it was an honor to have you on the platform. Had to get the red carpet and lay it out for how we doing the podcast on the Underdogs. Definitely an underdog story. Because just hearing of when you started and where you are right now, like I say, your work looks like you spent a lifetime doing it. Like, to be honest,
thank you, bro.
When I seen it in the gallery, I was like, okay. So I was like, hey. The same with everybody, LinkedIn Network. Hey, I'm ready to give you your flowers you deserve, and hopefully, like I said, the world one day will know SOHAIL, the artist, from all the grind and, look back on this interview, later on. So most definitely.
Absolutely. Likewise, man. And I appreciate you, bro. Like I appreciate not only having me on here, but the podcast as a whole, man, and your mission and your humility and the humbleness about it. You really was willing and wanting love for the people that deserve it rather than something self-serving and breaking people down, So I'm thankful for you, man. Thank you.
Most definitely. And before we get you out of here, how we do all our guests, last but not least, before we end the show, what does being an underdog mean to you, or when you hear the word underdog?
When I hear the word underdog, what that means to me is somebody that on the surface, for the people that don't know us, could count us out real easily. But the dog part, man, I'm gonna stay fighting. You're gonna hear me one day. I don't plan on stopping ever. And that's what that means to me. That you just don't stop. You're not gonna hold me down.
Most definitely. Hey, y'all, for episode 15, Never Too Late, featuring Atlanta-based oil painting artist, painting portrait artist, SOHAIL. Make sure y'all go check out his website, sohail.com. Instagram, Art by SOHAIL. It was an honor, brother. Appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Just keep the grind going, man.
Appreciate you, bro. Thanks for everything, man.
Definitely.
Gold mouth, rabbit on my teeth, I got carrots. Open up her mouth and she got vocals sound like Janet. Marble on the floors, but the kitchen kinda granite. Lean color perk, you would think it's pomegranate. I see flying saucers finna roll another planet. It will fall in place if it's meant to be organic. I got crazy lingo, you would think I'm speaking Spanish. I'm something like a pie, never leave without the cannon. I'm enlightened. I got stones around my neck. If you pay attention, I teach her how to earn respect. I walk around with a tag like I'm mad at the rail. People do any damn thing for a check. So what if you got signed labels, throw them on the shelf? I don't ask for help, I just go within myself. Hard times I prevail, I bust up out my shell. I let my nuts hang, cause it don't got no curfew. Gold mouth, rabbit on my teeth, I got carrots. Open up a mouth and she got vocals sound like Janet. Marble on the floors, but the kitchen kinda granite. Lean color perk, you would think it's pomegranate.